Welcome to Anime Out of Context, a comedy review show where a man completely immersed in anime culture torments his co-host, who is only allowed to watch the shows featured here. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/animeoutofcontext. Alongside over 100 hours of exclusive bonus material, all episodes uploaded to Patreon are completely ad-free, even to non-patrons. Thank you for listening, and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to Anime Out of Context, the show where I attempt to explain the sometimes weird, sometimes wonderful, but always hilarious world of anime.
And oh my god, what happened to Mudang?
I'm Sean Rollins.
I'm Remington Chase.
You're gonna have people Googling what happened to Mudang, you know that, right? You're gonna give people a heart attack by doing that.
And the only answer they're gonna find is on our pre-banter of this episode. So, Sean, all right, how will you continue to ruin our favorite time of year?
I'm not gonna ruin anything, Rem.
Skeptical. Doubt.
Because, Remington, I'm doing you a service.
Oh, are you?
You've seemed dissatisfied with the way I've handled spooky season in the past.
Highly.
So, really, Rem, today, I'm gonna cater to the experience exactly to the way you want it.
Oh, will you?
Oh, yes, 1,000%. So, Remington, you're going to tell me exactly what you want, and in, the next few minutes, I'm going to give you the best anime I can that fits your qualifications.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
It's freeform? It's just...
Well, I have a loose structure if you would like to go down that route.
Why? I don't know. I've never had power on the podcast before.
Well, Ram, you're the one who's highly criticizing of my decision making, so I figured maybe this is the way to get you what you want for your spooky season, rather than my usual methods of very carefully selecting things.
All right. Well, here are some things I would love to have, Sean.
Okay.
Obviously, horror. Surprise, surprise.
All right. Yep. Okay. Got it.
And actual horror, not gotcha horror bullshit. All right, horror being the primary genre.
Yep. The tag, I have a list of anime that are classified as horror first and foremost.
I also, ideally, it'd be like psychological horror, because a lot of anime is like, no, it's horror because we're fighting monsters, which they can be fine, but I don't want it to just be fighting monsters. That for me makes it less horrifying, right?
Okay.
That's horror aesthetic. I want it to actually be focused on setting that atmosphere, that tone to try and fuck you up, try and spook you, right?
Okay. So kind of like what we did with Perfect Blue.
Yeah. If you can, basically, the vibes of Perfect Blue would be fantastic, but obviously that's a big ask.
Okay.
And ideally it doesn't have prominent jiggle physics.
Okay. Yeah, no, easy enough.
Yeah, I'm a simple man. All right. This is me being so deprived that I'm just give me, these aren't crazy things to ask for, I don't think. And yet I've consistently been deprived of them.
Okay. All right. Well, Remington, with those parameters, I have narrowed it down to about 3 shows. All
right. Here we go, baby.
And I could be super vague about which one we do, right? I could be oh man, well, guess what? We're going to be doing a one that's a little bit spoopy, or this one is a little bit saucy. I could do something like that. But no, this episode, Rem, this episode is about catering the experience that you want specifically. All right? So I'm just going to tell you the names of the anime.
All right. Okay. All right.
And you can tell me which one you think would be most worth your time.
My God, true power. Is this what it feels like?
Yeah. There are no tricks here, Rem.
After so many years.
I am genuinely trying to give you an experience that you want.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It hit me.
All right. So the first one I have on the line for you is one that is simply titled Jigoku Shoujo. And the English title of that is Hell Girl.
Okay. Is that a spinoff of Hellboy?
It is not.
Okay.
It is not. And if it was, Dylan would never forgive me for not showing it to him and doing an episode with him.
It's true. All right, what's the second one?
The second one is simply titled Shiki, and the closest thing to an English title, it doesn't have an English title, but the closest one to an English title would be something along the lines of Corpse Demon.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And the last one I have for you, Let's go with Ajin Part 1.
just a part one, you know?
Yeah, well, either that or you can have the TV adaptation, which is just Ajin. It's like a choice between the movie version or the TV show version is essentially what you're choosing.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
All right.
If you want a follow-up question, I'm more than happy to answer one for you as well. Like I said, I'm catering this to you, Remington.
Which of these is the highest rated?
That would be Shiki.
Okay. All right. Would you say that horror is the primary genre of each of these?
Yeah, more or less.
No, don't more or less me, you son of a bitch. Don't you fucking more or less me.
Yeah, no, horror is the first listed one on each of these.
As we saw last week, that's meaningless.
Yes, okay.
In your opinion, all right, you're describing it to a friend you actually care about.
Okay. Of the three I've given you, Ajin is probably the least horror.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we gotta go Shiki then.
All right.
Let's get Shiki, baby.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about Shiki.
All right, Shiki. Not to be confused with the Iron Shiki, who hates Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan, you are bitch.
I mean, to be fair, so do I.
Shouldn't we all? Shouldn't we all?
But no, Remington, Shiki. Shiki is a psychological horror suspense mystery type show.
Yes, here we go. This is what I want.
Yep. And just the straightforward synopsis of this is, it takes place in the small town of Sotoba. And you know the small town vibes, like everybody knows everybody gets along. And unfortunately, tragically, one day, a girl by the name of Megumi Shimizu just passes away from an unexpected illness.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And over the torrid summer months, as more and more unexplained deaths crop up around the village, the town's doctor, Toshio Ozaki, begins that something more sinister than a mere disease is at play.
Okay. All right.
So it's kind of like a little bit of a small town mystery mixed with a little bit of like classic Dracula type vibes, if that makes sense.
I dig it. I'm also I'm literally reading Dracula right now.
Oh, hey. Well, there you go. Then you'll have a very referential comparison point.
Yeah, I'm right in that mindset.
Yep. And I'll even tell you, you asked which one was the highest rated. It was this one. And I'll tell you I won't tell you the exact score, but it is higher than 7.5.
Woo! Come on, baby. Come on. Let it actually be good. I believe.
All right. And you have no one else to blame but yourself for this, Remington. So?
Don't say that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What the hell?
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase then, Rem. You've made your decision. Is that not good enough? Okay, how about, really, Rem, you'll have nobody to blame but yourself.
Oh my God.
But let's go and have a watch. Let's go see if, this is also actually a very highly requested show as well, Rem, so.
Hey, perfect. There we go.
So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's go watch some Shiki. And we are back after watching the 2010 anime Shiki, a total of 8 episodes. And Remington, were you happy with your choices? After all, this is an episode curated by yourself, so clearly this was the best case scenario for you, yeah?
I mean, hey, it is horror. It is actually horror.
Yes.
And mystery.
Yes.
And it focuses on spooky vibes. And I really enjoy and appreciate all of that.
And like I said, Ben, I was gonna make sure I got you what you wanted. Now the question is did it live up to all of your expectations?
No, not quite, not quite. Not to say that it was bad, but it was hit or miss.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is an anime from 2010.
You know what? Suddenly it all makes sense. It's my perfect anime, but it's made in 2010, and thus it hits a lower ceiling than it otherwise would even have a chance.
Yeah, the original manga was written in 2007 as well, and finished in 2011. So that gives you the time frame.
I think a good way of conveying some of its flaws are actually by talking about a different property, one that we already discussed in part 1, Dracula.
Yes.
So, as I mentioned, I was literally reading Dracula while also watching this show, which just serendipitous because there are so many commonalities.
I mean, it is ultimately like a vampire-esque type story. And when I told you that, like, this was very much like an anime Dracula, I wasn't kidding, like, the way it's framed.
I mean, Dracula is one of the single most adapted stories of all time.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating because there's always an inevitable difficulty with adapting Dracula.
Yeah.
And it's mostly been faced in movies, and that is, Dracula is a story that has so many characters and so many things take place, and it has so many different perspectives, each with all of their nuance, all of these details that are not just filler details. If you cut one of these things, it'll have a cascade effect, and all of a sudden, okay, well, if you cut out this little detail over here because it doesn't feel important in and of itself, well, but it is important later for this thing or for this other character, and it's how this thing is justified, etc., etc.
And not to mention that Dracula, like the OG book, for those who have read it, which I'm sure is probably not most of you, because let's be real, it's not exactly top of anybody's to-read list, even though I think it should be.
It genuinely, y'all, it's more readable than you think it is. It has great suspense, great tension. It's a worthwhile read, okay?
Yeah, it's very much, and it's also not formatted like you would expect. It's very much like reading through a bunch of journals and newspapers and getting a great story in the background out.
Yeah. Which is just fascinating to see that psychological reality, but it makes it more difficult to adapt.
Yep.
For sure. Just because of how internal it is and how inherently external just about any other medium is going to be displaying it. And so often adaptations of Dracula, they have to make compromises. They have to reduce things down. They have to combine some characters at times or skip events. And then sometimes they have to create new things to then justify the no longer justified decisions because of the things they had to remove. It's nice and chaotic. Shiki, it goes a different route. Shiki wants to honor the level of complexity and the number of perspectives that you see in Dracula, which is ambitious, but hey, we got a good handful of episodes to work with here, so maybe they'll have the time to do so. But they decide on a really strange pacing of it all, where it, in some respects, I mean, I'm now 8 episodes in and they just began to be like, hey, what if it's vampires? So that's pretty slow paced, which is fine. That on that level, I'm actually pretty okay with it. On the pacing of that macro level storytelling, I'm fine with. It's the micro level stuff that's insanely rushed. None of the characters in these 8 episodes have much development at all. It introduced us to so many characters.
Oh yeah. I mean, a village worth, you might say.
A village worth, and it's so difficult to keep track of which ones are important, which ones will show up again, or which ones are just on the chopping block. And they're just all thrown at you, and they don't necessarily have the greatest dialogue at any point.
Almost like it was written in 2007.
Yeah, let me mention a couple characters, right? So the first character we really meet is Megumi, right? And she is pink and fashionable and doesn't want to be in this small town. In fact, she fucking hates everybody. Everybody is trash. People trying to be friends with her, and she doesn't give a shit. She has a crush on a guy, but he ignores her. What the hell? And then she eventually goes missing and gets transformed into a vampire.
Or Shiki, as they're called in this show.
Yeah. They're going to present, especially one connection with Megumi, her friend Kaori, right?
Yep.
Kaori cares so much about Megumi. In fact, I'm gonna level with ya. It's kind of Kaori's whole deal. Kaori doesn't have a ton of characterization right now, besides caring about Megumi, her dead friend. But all that we saw was a brief interaction where Megumi blew her off and didn't want to interact with her. And that's kind of it. So that's a weird route to go down.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you could have it like, yeah, see, Kaori's friendship is unrequited, just like Megumi's love is unrequited. To Yuki, let's talk about Yuki for a moment.
Yuki is very pretty. You got to remember that's an important feature.
Oh, Yuki, he's such a pretty boy.
Yeah.
And he's a quiet loner type.
Oh.
And see, the thing with you, his character is kind of, so the thing about him, right? He's kind of this loner type, right? And so the thing about him, yeah, so that about covers it. There's not much there. And you might think that like, oh, why was he never really interested in Megumi? Is there a fascinating divide where he, even though he's a stoic loner, cares deeply about the foundations of this town and sees how dismissive Megumi is about this town and its inhabitants, and so he feels defensive. He doesn't believe anybody is above this town, and so that's why he feels that way. No, that would be interesting. That'd be real fascinating. That's not it. There's not really a reason. He just doesn't vibe with her, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he also kind of hates the village.
And so already 3 of the most important characters in 8 episodes haven't really given me a whole lot. There's also a doctor. He cares about the town and is trying to figure out what's going on. There's a monk who cares about the town and is trying to figure out what's going on. Occasionally they'll talk to each other. They won't really come to any new conclusions when talking to each other. They'll mostly just update us on the story so far that we already know.
Yeah, you kind of see why I gave you like 8 episodes to watch this, yeah?
Yes.
Like out of 22 total for frame of reference.
Like, I think the plot is actually moving at a fine pace, all right? We're about like a third of the way through the season. Yeah, this should be the time they're properly finding out that there are vampires. I like that slower pace. I'm down with that. But also, in this span of time, we should have gotten so much more depth on all of the characters, on all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have not gotten that. What's interesting is I do actually kind of vibe with the relationship dynamics of this show, or at least the dynamics of them, because a proper relationship requires strong characters. But I like the shape of the different dynamics. The monk and the doctor, all right, cool. Kaori and I think like her little brother are kind of doing a low-key investigation on their own. That's kind of interesting and neat. I can dig that. Yuki and his friends, and then eventually he joins up with the others. Like, there's just nice relationship shapes there, where I think that if the characters were good and fleshed out, then those relationships would actually be bomb as hell. They would be great.
Yeah, like, let me tell you this, Rem. Like, a lot of people love this series, but that's because they remember it for the overall thing, right? Like, they treat, when people are like, oh, you should watch this, and be sure to watch all of it. It's an old school anime where people who super love the series are always willing to talk about the overarching plot and story, but you very rarely hear them mention very specific characters, aside from, when people go full shiki and go full horror and murderous and things like that. But it is very much like the love for the series comes from like the complete package rather than like the individual pieces, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally understand, because I think this show, it's a good show if you sort of let it become blurry, right? If you don't focus, if it's like a magic eye puzzle. If you just don't focus on anything, let it all kind of blur, just so you see the shapes of the story, the shapes of the characters, the shape of the relationship dynamics. All of those are solid. When you focus in a little bit more, you examine the details, I don't think it really holds up to a lot of scrutiny, but in broad brush terms, it's really solid. Another element that I think sort of helps that, and it can almost convince you that the details are good, is there's some really nice moments throughout, right? That are atmospheric and compelling. And so you take these shapes, you take these moments, and you're like, okay, what if the shapes were completely filled in with these moments instead of them just being interspersed? And then, oh my god, you'd have a 10 out of 10 product, truly. As it stands now, it's a little bit messier than that.
but not messy in a way that's going to make you want to stop watching it, per se. Like, there's enough intrigue and curiosity going on that it's a good way to kill some time, if you ask me.
Oh, for sure. I like the mysterious vibes and watching the characters solve the mystery. Obviously, for the viewer, there's not really a lot of mystery going on.
No, it's vampires. Like, it is Dracula. Like,
there is no subtlety. Like, episode 1, they're like, oh, a mysterious family has moved into the castle on the hill. But they only show up at night. How odd. And it's like, oh, yeah, all right.
I see they're carting large boxes of dirt into a ship. I wonder what that's about.
So the show itself, a little bit messy with some neat ideas. We haven't seen a ton of the vampires yet, but what we have seen is interesting, from creepy ventriloquism to a little girl who really likes reading the monks' books and things, to obviously Megumi still stalking Yuki. There's also an extra powerful vampire who's a cat boy. I don't really understand. That one, homie has full on cat ears.
Yeah. Look, man, you can't underestimate the power of a cat boy. It's more intimidating than you'd think in your horror anime.
But why do the vampires have a super powerful cat boy as their secret weapon?
I see. You'd prefer a super powerful dog boy. Is that it?
Yeah, it's that was my critique. You figured it out.
Ah, see, my bad. I'll be sure to let them know next time.
You also have Masao, who's just a little shit stain. You can tell he's gonna be a little jackass because he's an ugly character, and hey man, I don't make the rules. Japan and anime have a pretty strict ugly equals evil paradigm.
Yeah, which is hilarious because in One Piece there are a lot of ugly characters that are some of the best characters and everybody loves them, so you know. It's nice that there's like some counterplay.
Yeah, there's some exceptions, but most anime, if you see a really ugly motherfucker, they're gonna be an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the case here. Yeah, it turns out Masao's an asshole, kind of just incel vibes.
Oh yeah.
And then he's attacked by a vampire. He's resurrected. Bada bing, bada boom. They might try to pull some redemption from him or like keep it on the fence a little bit, but he at very least he's a jackass.
Well, no spoilers.
Yeah. Let's see. There's not a ton of other stuff that happens because for a while they think that it's some disease or epidemic.
Right.
Which I'm gonna level with you. I think that would have been more interesting to me. I'm down with a good vampire story, but like small town, a strange, possibly supernatural disease is infecting all of us and we don't know what the fuck's going on and we need to figure it out before we all die. Hell yeah, dude. That sounds rad as hell. That sounds fascinating.
It's very eldritch, isn't it?
Oh yeah. And I think you could get a lot of the same vibes of horror, suspense, like time is whittling away. I also think it would make more sense than vampires. Right now, like, people have been dying basically every day in the town, right? Or at least every other day. This is a very small town.
Oh, yeah.
Motherfuckers have lost 10% of their population at least to vampires.
Which is much higher than the average location.
Yeah. And then, like, some of them are in turn being turned into vampires. And I feel like once you hit the threshold where, like, 5% of your population is vampires, there's not much you can do about it at that point. There's just...
Oh, hey, as somebody who's seen the whole series, yes, there is. No spoilers, but yes, there is.
Oh, man.
Man, is it a wholesome thing to do? No. but there is something you can do.
They're gonna fucking nuke the vampires, baby. Nuke a small town of vampires. This is a weird show. I like the atmosphere, and if I don't focus on anything at all, then I can vibe with the general flow and direction of things.
It's a good seasonal show.
It is also hilarious that the vampires, especially, like, for example, the little girl.
Yeah.
Her eyes are like the most vampire thing in the world. They're just big, black and red.
Yeah, kind of like just voids.
Like, there's no sense of subtlety here.
No.
At all.
No.
0%. But everybody's just like, all right. The monk who always interacts with her is like, what a strange little girl.
You know, sometimes strange little girls have big void-filled eyes, you know? That's just the way it goes.
Hey, you always fill my void with your eyes, Sean.
What?
What?
Rem, I think you're dying actively, so we should probably end this shortly.
There's a good chance. And let me tell you, lovely listeners, you have no idea how many coughing fits Dylan has had to edit out to make me seem alive. All right?
And here I thought that you were dying simply due to the fact that I made you choose an anime based on like your own criteria. Like I figured all that power got to you and you were succumbing to the sickness because of it.
No, in reality, I was, I have a few insect bites on my arm, Sean. And, I've just been feeling a little bit sleepy and out of it lately.
I see. You being sleepy? That's weird.
It is hilarious that the doctor remarks that, like, everybody's anemic and has insect bites. And it's okay for him not to assume, like, vampires. He also doesn't assume the insects have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, motherfucker has never heard of malaria or anything. He's just like, no, insects can't make you sick.
There's no malaria in small villages. Don't be ridiculous. So then, Rem, if you had to guess, what do you think the mouse score for Shiki is?
Oh, man. All right, let's see.
You do know that of the 3 options I gave you, it was the highest rated.
Yes. I don't think it's gonna hit 8, but I'm feeling like high-ish 7.
Okay.
Right. Well regarded, it's from 2010, which for me is a demerit, but for weebs, that's one of their most nostalgic eras.
2011 specifically was the big nostalgia year.
Sure, but nonetheless, it's in the ballpark.
Yep.
And it's actually genuinely spooky, which is a nice change of pace, so maybe that'll be a slight plus. I think it'll be, we can't go unholy and say 6.66 because that would be way too low. So I'll go holy and say 7.77.
Okay. All right. As we all know, that is the holiest of numbers because that number means money.
Money!
Gotta hit that jackpot, baby. Let's go gambling. But, all right, Rem. Well, Shiki has had 264,000 ratings, which is quite a lot, all things considered. Not as much as like some of the big names from the era, but pretty damn huge. Because horror anime are a very specific niche in and of themselves, especially since most horror anime are pretty fucking bad. So any horror fans out there who get a horror anime that at least has some type of quality to it, they will cling on to it for dear life. And Shiki is one of them for a lot of people. And with that in mind, and those 264,000 ratings, Shiki is sitting nice and pretty at 7.72.
Oh!
You were very fucking close, my guy.
See, you just have to trust in the Lord. Or the slot machine.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, and like looking at the score breakdown, it is very heavily weighted, like in the 8s and the 7s. And a lot of the people who watched it, there aren't too many people who think this is like just a straight up bad show. Like 22% of voters gave it a 7, and then right behind it, 10% of voters gave it a 6. Like that's
because it even though it has its flaws, it has a good vision. It has a good idea of what it wants to be.
Like you're not gonna regret watching it. Essentially,
yeah,
you're gonna have a good if you like this kind of vibe, you're gonna enjoy it for the most part. It's just once you start to get hypercritical, like I don't know. 2 assholes who have an anime podcast, that's when things start to fall apart a little bit.
Yep.
And let me tell you, as somebody who's watched a lot of media this month, watching Shiki was much more pleasant to me.
For sure.
Yeah. Though, to be fair, it was one of the few that I actually did watch, hoping that you would choose one with a high rating. My list of horror anime that I presented to you, Rem, I watched maybe 3 of them in preparation, because I was like, there's no shot he's choosing any of the lowly scored ones based on all the freedom I'm giving him. So So a lot of the ones that are on the lower end of the spectrum, I just didn't fucking prepare properly because I was like, what are the chances he chooses one of those? based on his descriptions and name alone, fuck that. There's no shot. He's gonna ask for like 3 vague things, and I'm gonna give him a small range, and he's gonna choose the one with the highest score. So, Yeah,
pretty safe to say.
Yeah, so truly, you did choose it yourself. But it is very much me being like, I know you pretty well, Rem, and I know exactly what kind of things you would choose. There's no secrets between us. We know what we like. And for people who are like, wow, Sean, why do you think he'll like this one? And I internally say, of course he fucking won't. Of course he fucking won't. Am I going to show it to him anyways? You bet your ass I am. But there you go, Reb. You got to have a little bit of power. And I guess the final question I need to ask is, any chance you'd like to watch a little bit more Shiki with me?
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah. I can't guarantee it'll be something that you talk about for ages to come, but at least you'll have a good little spooky time for, at least a dozen or more episodes.
Hey, I'm always down for a little seasonal spookiness, all right?
Yeah. And don't worry, Rem, we have more seasonal spookiness to come. But for now, thank you all so much for tuning in. If you enjoy Remington recording, even though he is actively hacking up his lungs, then please head on over to wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. They mean the world to us, and we do read every single one. And if that is still not enough for you, twitch.tv/anime out of context, where myself, Dylan and Remington, occasionally play video games very poorly. I'm almost done with Elden Ring. Amazingly to say, I've started the DLC, I'm working my way through it, but man, I'm not getting close. At least that's what people tell me. This DLC is much bigger than I anticipated. But if that is still not enough for you, patreon.com/anime out of context, where you gain access to all kinds of lovely bonus material, including having the opportunity to be thanked live on the podcast. So, Rem, who are we thanking this week? As you compose yourself and try not to die.
Yeah, I just took a big swig of water to hopefully keep my throat nice and lubricated for you.
Yeah, even without us working the haunted house, we still got sick. It's fucking
It's
bullshit.
just how it goes.
It's fucking bullshit is what it is.
Well, as always, we would like to send our regards to all of our bland bitch protagonists, as well as our magical girls, who we really appreciate. But moving on, we get to our yandere waifus, who are murdering our best friend just to get closer to us. I'm level with you, Sean. I might have to have you do the
Patreon rates because you're dying.
Yeah.
All right. Starting with a moe piece of trash. Aisha Gaji, AJ Tunnels. As a trademark spoon man replaces people's bones with spoons, making spoon people, the army grows. Strange. Audio glitch. Been a while since I finished my name on here, but I got a third 4.0. Can't believe it. Also changed my major from Funa. Bento Kato. Blake Star. Rock hard for Geodude. Shadow the Hedgehog. You got a small dick. It's the size of this walnut, except way smaller. I feel like that's a reference, but, I'm not going to question it. Cat girls are best girls, so give them cute little paws. Chair the God supports Rem in the dark times. Cheese Monkey. Daddy Rem, tell me a bedtime story. Danielle Riot. Terpixion worshiper. Diana Madrid. Oh, Christ almighty. Diddy Wonka's Baby Oil River.
Yeah.
Erica McCorkle, Fantide, Farmer Weeb fucks crackers. What? Oh, excuse me, Farmer Weeb fuck crackers. Sorry, I didn't want to accuse you of anything. Friend the guy learning guitar by watching anime, Glenn Michael Dolan. Vocaline Yokel, I'm not a number, I am a free man. I can't believe I made an account for this. I want to slather Dylan in baby oil. So do a lot of people. I will be on episode 341. I mean, hey, it's always good to be ambitious. I will never get more Ace of the Diamond. Now I cry. I'm the original guy that made you say cunt every week. The other guy's just a pretender. Jake Dent, Jam Hands, Jax, Cassidy, King Richrock, Kirito's Mega Schlong, and Sean's Big Hole. Alrighty. Leonard98, Link Jokerl, Low Punny's breast jiggle every time I say horror. You sure you don't want to take over, Rep? You sure you?
No, hey, I'm just being able to enjoy the names.
So you enjoy Low Punny's breast jiggle every time they say horror.
It happens to me too. It's something Low Punny and I have in common.
Maybe we need to start going to the gym, Rem. Lucky Star is the king of Moe. Macaroni Uchiha, making fake mal accounts so I can rate Forest Fairy 5, 10 out of 10. Mark, Michaela 7 Hierto. Misaka is enjoying the pumpkin spice yakisoba much more than she expected to. Strange. My favorite dinosaur is a Triceratops. I hear they use 3 sword style. That wasn't part of the name, I just added that because I'm a One Piece nerd. One reason, Onichichi 10 out of 10 Family Show. Paco, Musico, Professor Fox, pro tips out of context, the pellet with the poisons and the flagon with the dragon, the vessel and the pestle as a brew that is. Then it cuts off because Patreon's hidden character limit. Raptor King, Regulatreon, excuse me. Rem doesn't completely hate my favorite shows. Rem hit rock bottom and is still on top of Sean. Rem uses the drums of liberation to free all weeps from bad anime. Remington is right. Remington uses the deer crackers of liberation. Rhiannon Williams, Ross Palmer, Seraphim the shark plushie, Sean can do these nuts. Sean, did you know I had a jar too? It had Gene Wilder in it, but I filled it in a day. Man, that backfired because I'm reading it.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, Rem.
It's how it goes.
Sean, how dare you tease Vox Machina and not do it? Fair. That's honestly fair. I get the criticism for that. It's in my back pocket. Don't worry. Sean ruined my happy sugar life when he took a spooky sex toy. I'm not gonna finish that. Yeah, nope, not gonna finish that.
They paid for you to finish it, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, but that's a little outside my comfort level. I read the first half. They know who they are. Sean thinks Conception is better than Dokapon Kingdom. I really don't. Sean show Rem Kaguya-sama dubbed and My Life Is Yours. Sean Jenkins. Sean wants to give Spoon Man a thanking yank. Stacy's mom. Super Zoo Turban. That smut has no place in fairy tales. 100 girlfriends. Strange. The capybara is breaking up with her boyfriend because he's not Gojo. I very interesting standards. The Danish Viking will conquer the world with Ronor Zoro as my navigator. The Flying Spaghetti Monster, Susanator. Titan CNH, totally good. Unhinged Prax, watching Requiem for Spoon Man at 0.5 speed. We at AOC are proud members of the SOS Brigade. Welcome to Anime in Full and Complete Context, the show where Wes Kane. When I'm in a bad anime choice competition, my opponent is Sean Rollins. I'm cooked. Okay, listen here. Listen here. You still listen to the show, so how dare you? When's the Bible out of context on Law on His Daughters? I don't know the context of that, but I'm sure you do, Rem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where's our DBZ review, you ginger fuck? Wolfire 56. Wonka Domain Expansion, Inflation Porn. Yandere Neko Xanax 010. And moving on up to the Boy Wizard tier, where... God, I have to do this myself too, don't I, Rem?
Oh, yeah.
Ah, that's
I mean, I'll be... Hey, I can... they'll each get a Dracula movie. A nice Dracula adaptation.
Alrighty. Starting with... Allfather is writing BuzzFeed quizzes and wants suggestions on what they should be.
You get Dracula, pages from a virgin's diary.
Alright, yeah, I mean...
It's a ballet, apparently.
Oh, weird. And every day that Raven comes to visit.
Nosferatu, a symphony of horror.
Animated Z.
Shadow of the Vampire.
Anime mashup of the week. My Mrs. Vampire is my roommate. Appropriate.
Just good old Dracula.
Beethoven 1201.
Dracula, but it's the Spanish version of that exact same film, which is not just a language change, but was just filmed simultaneously in tandem with.
Oh, yeah. Blood Cell, the one of many that rushes to Rem's lower half when he thinks about Gene Wilder's candy cane stashed in his pocket?
Ain't that the truth? Mark of the Vampire.
Butler Rat wonders when Sean was going to finish the fanfic he promised. Eventually.
Dracula Istanbulda.
Carver 271.
Horror of Dracula.
Crimson Reapers just because of the sides.
Blood for Dracula.
Crosskirk.
Quadacook Vampire.
How do we have two of these? Diddy Wonka wants syrup on his chalky bar. Like, I don't know if we can. I don't know if that one's kosher or not.
We've already been saying it for weeks, Sean.
Oh, have we?
Love it first bite.
I must have blocked it out mentally. Hopping on the Monogatari train because why not?
Blackula.
Much better movie than you'd think. I summoned the ultimate Exodia.
Scream Blackula Scream.
Haven't seen that one.
Neither.
Miguel Delion.
Van Helsing.
Oh God, I'm sorry. Mike.
The Return of the Vampire.
Monogatari is a spooky psychological thriller with vampires, curses, possessed people, dead children walking the streets.
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Nightshade Blade is done gushing over magical girls.
Dracula and Son.
Oh no, Rem was reincarnated as Sean's sister?
Oh, Jesus Christ. The Return of Dracula.
Roscop.
Dracula bites the Big Apple.
He shouldn't do that. He's supposed to bite for blood.
One's pretty good.
Let's see. Scourge, best $20 spent, LMAO.
Sundown, the Vampire in Retreat.
Sean, you say we haven't had a bad to good revisit, but haven't revisited Love Chunibyo and Other Delusions, you cuck. I mean, that is true. That show does get better as it goes on, in my opinion, but, that's
Dracula's dog.
Sean, can we watch the next 18 episodes of Shiki next week? Man, have I got some great news for you.
We can just watch some this week. You're welcome.
Yeah. So,
The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires.
Silent Secondary.
Son of Dracula.
Spooky, scary, Sammy K sees you shiver with anticipation. There you
House of Dracula.
Spoon Man, the aristocrat.
Nocturne.
Tails and Kira eventually make it to Torvan City.
Dracula's daughter.
That mouse girl.
The Brides of Dracula.
Umbrasite.
Hotel Transylvania.
Weak some shit asking for a darling in the Franks.
Hotel Transylvania 2.
Can't wait to see what the next one is. Willy Wonka's Wonky Willy.
Hotel Transylvania 3.
Well, I was about to ask if they made a fourth one, but I don't know if I could handle that. Because, let's be honest, I feel like they peaked with the first one.
I mean, it's true. It's true.
And it wasn't even a high peak. Like, it was like a brisk walk up a hill, And moving on above and beyond to the inappropriate Joey Wheeler tier, where this week, where Remington is going to give you a horrific monster or creature, and I'm going to tell you how you encounter it in the night.
Hell yeah.
Starting with, hi, Sean, Zoid's new century is better than any...
Excuse me. You
Sorry?
gotta...
Oh, yeah, Joey Wheeler. That's right. Right.
This motherfucker.
Look, we've only been doing it for several years.
The audacity.
Okay. Starting with, hi, Sean. Zoid's new century is better than any Gundam.
You are gonna find in the night the Jersey Devil.
And it's gonna be very interesting because he's gonna be browsing the nonfiction section at your local library with you.
That'd be a great time.
I agree. I'm not saying that these are gonna be bad monster encounters. That's just how you're gonna encounter them. I am a regulation listener that used to listen to Face Jam, but now listens to 100% Eat Rare Kumiko.
You are gonna be confronted by Dio.
Oh, man. Okay. Fair enough. You are going to be walking down the streets of Italy, and he's going to ask you how many pieces of bread you eat. You're going to tell him that you're gluten intolerant, and he's going to go about his business making more surprise children. Yes, that might be a plot point in later parts of JoJo. Don't worry about it.
Of course.
I've had one desire, suck my guts and lick my heart, skin tastes sweet, pleasures of the flesh. Also weirdly appropriate for this week.
You are going to be confronted by Jesus Christ, the Holy Slasher.
I'd watch that movie. And you're going to encounter him in a torrid love affair under the moonlight. Next up, maybe Sean will show Rem Humanity Has Declined instead of Monogatari series. Chicken Corpses and Ave Maria.
You are going to be confronted by the monstrous Dr. Rollins and Mr. Kreider.
Oh man, I can't wait to hear the lore explanation of that one.
Oh yeah.
And this encounter is going to be you're going to be playing pinball, and they're going to put quarters on the machine saying they got next. Let's see. Rare Kumiko has decided to shield the anime Humanity Has Declined instead of the Monogatari series.
The big hole!
I mean, you're encountering a big hole, so whoopsie, don't trip. Rem needs to watch Humanity Has Declined, if not just for the loaf of bread committing suicide.
You are going to be confronted by a big old slime monster.
Be wholesome, Sean. And this encounter is going to be a lovely, he's going to fill up a pool and going to give you the pool swimming jello experience we've all dreamed of. Next up is Rowdio.
You are gonna find Art the Clown.
And he's going to walk up to you, honk his nose, then I guess shoot himself. I mean, that's what he does. Like, that's that is a thing he does. You get to live, though. That's the important thing. And don't have to see all the horrible other things he did to people. And last but certainly not least, Sean thinks Humanity Has Declined may be better suited to my taste, and will show that anime to me next week, which definitely backfired because I'm the one reading the Patreon names this week.
And you will be confronted. It turns out the real monster was the friends we made along the way.
And you're going to have that encounter after finally finishing One Piece.
Oh, God. Well, thank you all for tuning in. If you want to reach out for a comment, question, feedback, or recommendation, you can tweet us at AnimeConPod on Twitter, or send an email over onto animeoutofcontext@gmail.com.
Once again, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. We love and appreciate you very, very much. And as always, don't fuck your sister.
Do 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 do.